Hello there, and welcome back to the Midnight Orbit. Tonight, you're going to hear 3 true stories from those who should have never slept near the stars. These aren't bedtime tales. These are first-hand accounts from those who drifted too close to the edge of the unknown. So, settle in, let your body grow heavy, your breathing slow, and your thoughts drift among the distant lights, because out there, in the quiet between the stars, something is always awake, and sometimes it dreams of you. My name is Noah Keene. I've been aboard the research vessel Solace 3 for just over 7 months. We were stationed beyond the Miras cluster, 2 suns orbiting each other in an endless dance of pale fire. It was supposed to be quiet out here. Routine mineral scans, signal logs, and long shifts spent listening to the static hum of the stars. I used to like that sound, the faint vibration that filled the ship when the engines cooled at night. It made me feel small, but in a good way, like being cradled by something ancient and endless. But around the 5th month, the hum began to change. It wasn't random anymore. It pulsed, slow, steady, rhythmic, almost like breathing. At first, I thought it was a pressure imbalance in the reactor coils. I checked twice. Everything was normal. The sound came from deeper than the ship. It felt as if space itself was exhaling around us. The others heard it too. Reyes, our captain, brushed it off, said we'd been in isolation too long, that we were imagining patterns in the silence. But one by one, we started to lose sleep. The insomnia came quietly, a restless stirring that made the dark hours stretch wider each night. When I did manage to drift off, I dreamed of light, not the harsh glare of the suns, but something warmer, gentle, pulsing, alive. It hovered above an ocean of glass. I'd stand there unable to move, watching ripples of light spread beneath my feet. And beneath the glass, I could sense movement, something vast turning slowly in the deep, as if waiting for me to fall through. When I woke, the hum was louder, and the others, they started to describe the same dream, word for word. Different people, same star, same ocean, same pulse. Captain Reyes issued a ship-wide order, insomnia protocol. 4 hours maximum sleep per rotation, no off-cycle naps, and no discussion of dreams. He said our minds were sinking because of routine and isolation, but we all felt it. The way the hum changed pitch when the lights dimmed, the way it almost seemed to whisper through the air vents. By the end of that week, the air itself began to shimmer. Tiny golden motes drifted through the corridors, like dust in sunlight, except there was no sunlight here. They glowed faintly when we looked at them, then dimmed when we turned away. One night, I checked the ship's internal feed, half expecting to catch myself sleep-talking. At 2:14, every camera flickered. When the image returned, each crew member was standing beside their bunk, motionless, eyes open. Our lips moved in perfect unison, whispering a phrase too faint to register completely. But the audio picked up fragments, almost timed awake. The next morning, everyone acted normal, except each of us had written the same words in our daily log. It's almost time to wake. That was when I realized the hum wasn't inside the ship. It was calling from outside, something beyond the hull, reaching through our dreams. That night, we stopped fighting sleep. And that's when the stars finally answered. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't sure if I was awake or still dreaming. The line between the two had become so thin out here that I stopped trying to tell them apart. The ship was silent, too silent. Even the life support fans had gone still. The air felt heavy, suspended, as though the entire vessel were holding its breath. The hum was gone, but in its place came something else, a faint vibration beneath my bare feet, pulsing through the floor like a heartbeat made of metal. I could feel it deep in my bones, each slow thump echoing inside my chest. It wasn't sound anymore. It was rhythm, alive, deliberate. I walked the corridor barefoot. The steel was warmer than usual, almost soft underfoot, as if it had absorbed body heat from something not quite human. The air carried a faint scent, ozone and rain, like the world right before a storm. I'd almost forgotten what that smelled like. The hallway lights were dimmed to their night cycle, a dusky red that flickered slightly as though the ship itself were tired. I passed by the sleeping quarters, their doors all sealed, no sound from within. My reflection trailed me across each glossy panel, pale and hollow-eyed, a stranger moving through the dim corridors of a forgotten dream. When I reached the observation bay, everything changed. The stars outside had shifted color. Where they had once burned gold and white, they now glowed an impossible shade of blue. Too bright, too alive, pulsing with a soft rhythm that matched my heartbeat exactly. The twin suns hung just beyond the viewport, their light spilling through the bay and washing over the empty chairs, the scattered notes, the silent instruments. They pulsed again and again. It felt like they were breathing with me. I whispered the captain's name, but my voice died before it left my throat. When I tried the comm system, the channel clicked open, but there was no sound, not even static, only silence. A silence that seemed to press inward from every direction. When I found Reyes, he was seated in the mess hall, his hands resting neatly on the table, eyes wide open but glassy, like he'd been staring into something beyond sight. Around him, the others sat the same way, still, upright, breathing but slow, shallow, mechanical. Every few seconds, one of them would blink. Not a normal blink, but a delayed, heavy motion, like the body remembering what it means to be alive. I tried shaking Reyes' shoulder. No reaction. I called out names, slammed a tray to the floor, but they didn't move. They weren't asleep. They weren't awake. They were listening. To what? I didn't know. Not until the comm array behind me began to flicker. Every screen in the hall lit up at once, flooding the room with pale blue light. Transmission frequency 193.7, an unregistered band. The message origin, Solace 3, our own ship, and the transmission was outbound, broadcasting toward the nearest star. I approached the console and saw the waveform trembling across the screen, smooth and rhythmic, like a steady breath. Curiosity overrode fear just for a moment. I opened the live feed, and then I heard my own voice. It was calm, slow, measured, repeating the same phrase over and over. "We dreamed of you." The words looped endlessly, soft and clear, like someone whispering through water. I tried to cut the transmission, but the control panel refused to respond. Every button I pressed flashed red, unresponsive. The hum returned, but this time, it wasn't coming from the ship. It was inside me, a low resonance behind my eyes, vibrating softly through my skull, aligning perfectly with the pulsing of the stars outside. Each thrum was like a thought, not mine, but something older, larger. "Sleep," it said. Then again, "Listen," and finally, "Wake." The words weren't heard, they were felt. Each one settled into my chest like a heartbeat out of sync with my own. I pressed my hands against my ears, but the sound grew clearer, closer, slipping beneath the surface of my mind. I stumbled backward. My breathing turned shallow. The air felt syrup thick, and through the viewport, I saw it. Thin threads of light stretching from the twin suns, fluid and alive, reaching toward us like glowing tendrils. They drifted lazily through space, brushing the hull with impossible grace, leaving ripples that shimmered like reflections on water. And in that instant, I understood. The dreams we'd been sharing, the star we'd been seeing, none of it was ours. We were the dream. Something beyond comprehension was looking back at us, watching us dream of it, as though it had been waiting for the connection to complete. I remember warmth spreading through my chest, soft and peaceful, like being wrapped in sunlight after a long winter. The rhythm beneath my skin matched the hum. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel fear. I felt known. Then the hum spoke again, but this time it used my name. Noah, you've been awake too long. The voice wasn't from outside. It was inside my head, gentle and understanding, like an old friend trying to guide me home. My vision blurred. White light filled everything. When I woke, I was still in the mess hall. The chairs were empty. The crew was gone. The clocks had reset to 0. Every log erased. Only my own name remained on the manifest. Outside, the twin suns burned a deep, living violet, their light spilling across the glass like liquid dream. The air felt heavier now, warmer. Sometimes, when the ship is quiet, I can still hear them breathing in the dark, soft, synchronized, in rhythm with the stars. I haven't slept in 32 days, but when I close my eyes, I see that sea of glass again, closer now, the light beneath it waiting, patient, warm, endless. It hums to me in a voice that feels like memory, and I know what it wants. It wants me to dream again. I think it's almost time to wake. My name is Aiden Rowe. I'm the primary navigation pilot aboard the Halcyon Meridian, a long-haul transport ship designed for deep space mineral routes between colonies. We move slow, painfully slow, carrying raw ore through empty sectors where even radio waves seem to die mid-flight. We were 5 months into the return trip from the Perseid Belt when I first started walking in my sleep. The first time, I didn't believe it. Chief Medic Dr. Lyra found me standing in the airlock vestibule at 300, bare feet on cold metal, staring out the viewport into absolute black. When she called my name, I didn't move. She said my eyes were open, but there was something off about them, like I wasn't really looking through them anymore. When I finally woke, I couldn't remember leaving my bunk, but I remembered what I'd heard in the dream. A soft knocking, rhythmic, measured, coming from somewhere outside the hull. It wasn't loud, more like fingertips against glass. And between each knock, a faint hum, steady as breath. Dr. Lyra ran every neurological scan she could. No signs of trauma, no REM disturbances. She gave me a mild sedative and told me to rest. The next night, I woke again, in the same place, except this time, the inner airlock door was open, just a few inches. I stood frozen, watching my own reflection in the glass. It stared back, but not quite in sync. My reflection blinked slower than me. Behind it, faint light flickered, a soft blue shimmer like starlight moving underwater. When I tried to tell the captain, he laughed, said deep space isolation messes with the brain, calls it shadow drift. Still, he ordered the locks monitored and restricted my clearance to the observation deck during rest hours. That night, the knocking returned, but now it was closer, clearer. 3 taps, a pause, then 3 more. And in the faint, static hum of the life support vents, I could swear I heard my own voice whispering back. Almost time, Aiden. I began recording myself as I slept. The footage was ordinary until 2:47. Then, the camera caught me sitting up, eyes open, whispering into the dark. It's waiting outside. The next frame, static. When it cleared, I was gone. They found me 20 minutes later, standing barefoot at the airlock again, hand pressed against the glass. And outside, something was glowing in the dark. Not a star, not light from the engines. It was faint, drifting, as if something moved out there, slow and deliberate. Captain said it was cosmic dust interference, but dust doesn't pulse. Dust doesn't watch. By the end of that week, I wasn't the only one. Half the crew began sleepwalking toward the same airlock, all of us drawn to that same silent light. We started locking ourselves in at night. It felt strange at first, sleeping behind sealed doors on a ship that was never meant to feel like a prison. The captain ordered the override codes changed every cycle, claiming it was for safety, but we all knew why. None of us trusted ourselves anymore. We thought metal and passwords could keep us safe from something that lived in the air, from something that moved when we dreamed. It didn't work. Every morning, new footprints appeared in the corridors. Bare, pale, faintly smeared with condensation, leading toward the same sealed door at the far end of the ship. They weren't dirty, just wet like someone had stepped out of a lake. No one admitted to making them. No one could have. The security logs showed nothing. Still, they kept appearing. One set, sometimes two, always ending at the airlock. The captain grew pale. His voice lost its weight. By the sixth night, he stopped sleeping entirely, choosing instead to sit in the command chair with the lights dimmed, staring at the radar that never changed. Dr. Lyra replayed biometric logs from our suits. Every one of us entered the same neurological pattern at the same time. Heart rate steady, brain activity spiking far too high for deep sleep. Not awake, not dreaming. Something else in between. She called it lucid paralysis, but I could see in her eyes that she didn't believe her own words. The hum that had been our constant companion began to change again. Softer now, less mechanical, almost melodic. At times it resembled a slow lullaby, distant and incomplete, the kind of sound that makes you think of water in memory. Each time it drifted through the vents, the lights dimmed, then brightened, like the ship was breathing with it. Sometimes the air even seemed to pulse, as if invisible waves were passing through the metal, brushing the hairs along my arms. On the eighth night, I heard the voice again, not from the vents this time, from the intercom above my bunk, a whisper just above the static. Calm, familiar, step closer. You've seen me before. I froze. The others were still awake in the next compartment. I could hear their voices, soft, nervous, but none of them reacted. The intercom light wasn't even on. The voice had been meant for me. That night, I dreamed of the glow again. Only this time, I wasn't outside it. I was inside, weightless, suspended in liquid light. The glow moved like water, soft waves brushing against my skin. Not cold, not warm, something in between. Every motion carried meaning, like a language older than sound. I didn't want to breathe, afraid the stillness might break. I remember feeling peace, complete, absolute peace, the kind that makes you forget who you are, why you were afraid, even that you have a body at all. And then a shape began to form within the light, not human, not alien, something halfway between. It flowed instead of moved, like a thought trying to take form. It had no face, only smooth, rippling light where eyes might have been. When it spoke, the sound didn't come from around me. It came from within me, a vibration deep in the chest, resonating with every heartbeat. "Don't fight the pull, Aiden," it said. "You've already left the ship." The words weren't frightening. They were kind, like someone telling you it's time to rest. When I opened my eyes, I was back in my bunk, drenched in sweat. The air tasted of ozone and static, the faint sting of electricity, and there, on the floor beside me, a single footprint glowing faintly blue. Still wet, still warm, my own size. By now, everyone on board had seen the light, some in dreams, some awake, always at the edges of their vision, a reflection in a window that wasn't supposed to reflect, a shimmer in the dark, a pulse behind their eyelids. Reyes tried to joke that it was just cosmic radiation leaking through the shields, but his voice cracked halfway through the sentence. We all knew it wasn't that. The light wasn't around us. It was inside us. Every time the hum deepened, we felt it moving closer, not in space, but in thought. A pressure behind the eyes, a slow invitation. Reyes finally tried to change course, desperate to break the cycle, but the navigation controls had already begun to loop. Every plotted trajectory circled back on itself. The stars outside never shifted. It felt as though the universe had folded around us, like we'd slipped into the echo of a place that didn't exist anymore. At 3:19, the hum stopped. For the first time in weeks, perfect silence. It was so absolute that we could hear our own breathing. Uneven, human, fragile. Then came the alarm, the airlock alarm. We ran. The door was open, the pressure seal still engaged, as if it had been opened from both sides at once. Inside the chamber stood a figure. At first I thought it was Reyes. Then I realized it was me. He stood facing the viewport, hands at his sides, the faint blue glow spilling around him. I called out, but the sound fell flat, like shouting underwater, and then I saw myself still standing behind the others, heart racing, mouth dry. Two of me, one inside the airlock, one in the corridor. The man in the airlock turned his head, slowly, almost curiously, as if noticing us for the first time. His expression was empty, serene, and then he smiled. The glow outside swelled, flooding the chamber in blue light so bright it felt alive. The crew shouted my name, but I couldn't move. Neither could he. He raised a hand, and at the same time, so did I. Perfect synchronization. Our movements were mirrors, our thoughts one and the same. And then I watched his lips move, perfectly in sync with mine, whispering the words I had already begun to think. It's time to walk. The light consumed everything. When I opened my eyes again, the halcyon meridian was silent. No crew, no voices, just a faint, drifting glow that lingered in the corridors, moving like dust suspended in still air. The log said we'd been adrift for 41 days, though the chronometers no longer agreed with each other. Some ran fast, others backwards. Time had lost meaning. Sometimes in the quiet, I still hear footsteps, soft, bare, slow, pacing the hallways, always stopping near the airlock before fading away. I don't chase them anymore. I just listen. The glow still waits outside. It never fades, never moves closer. It just waits, patient, steady, like a heartbeat in the distance. I don't fight sleep anymore. When I close my eyes, I feel the same warmth from before, weightless, gentle, like being pulled into something endless. And I see the light, waiting for me beyond the glass, humming softly to the rhythm of my breath. Maybe that's where we belong now, drifting, listening, sleepwalking among the stars. If I start walking again tonight, I don't think I'll come back. My name is Mara Ivers. For the past 2 years, I've been stationed at Erebus 9, a relay satellite orbiting the edge of the Carina expanse. We handle deep band signals, whispers from exploration fleets, mining colonies, and the long, slow echoes of transmissions bouncing between the stars. It's quiet work. Some people can't stand the silence of the void, but I've always liked it. The low hum of the station circulators, the gentle click of relays switching channels, a rhythm to fall asleep to, until the night the dreams began. The first signal came at 3:12, a faint burst on a dead frequency, band 09X, used for deep-range telemetry. No identifier, no encryption, no carrier tone, just voices. At first, I thought it was interference, cosmic radiation bleeding through old relay code. But when I slowed it down and filtered the static, the voices became clear, soft, whispering, familiar. It was my voice, dozens of versions of it, overlapping, speaking fragments of words. You're asleep. It's beautiful. We dreamed of you too. I stared at the waveform for minutes, frozen. The sound wasn't mechanical. It was organic, tiny modulations that matched my own speech pattern. And the transmission source was even stranger. According to the tracker, it originated from inside Erebus 9. I ran diagnostics, checked every subsystem, every relay point. Nothing. The station was clean, no anomalies. The voice returned the next night, then the next. Always the same time, always whispering, always in my voice. I didn't tell command. How do you explain something like that to a team 3 light years away? They'd assume sleep deprivation or radiation hallucinations, and maybe they'd be right. But when I began to dream in sync with the transmissions, I knew it wasn't just in my head. The dreams came like static, flickering shapes, light and sound blending into strange patterns. At first I'd see stars flickering like Morse code across a dark sea, then a reflection, my own face, looking back from the void, lips moving soundlessly. Behind me, shadows drifted. Every time I turned to look, they dissolved into light. Each morning, I'd wake to find the comms log filling itself, lines of text I hadn't written, signal received, dream synchronized, awaiting broadcast. I tried purging the system, wiped every channel, reformatted the logs, but the messages came back. Only this time, they appeared before I even opened the console, as if the system already knew what I was going to do. Then, on the 10th night, something new appeared, a single file named dream_signal, unmarked, time-stamped exactly 3:12. I hesitated, then played it. The audio was faint breathing, slow, calm, then my voice, speaking words I had never said. "You're not receiving anymore, Mara. You're transmitting." The next morning, I found the ship's comm dish turned, facing a point in space where there should have been nothing. No planet, no beacon, no signal source. Just a single star, a pale, distant thing flickering in a rhythm I could almost recognize. The pulse matched my heartbeat. That's when I stopped trying to delete the signal and started listening to what it was trying to say. For the next 12 nights, the transmissions grew stronger, not just at 3:12 anymore. Now, they played softly under everything, beneath the hum of life support, beneath my own breathing. It became background music for the station. The voice changed too. It wasn't just me anymore. Other voices joined, deeper, slower, almost like a choir. Their tone wasn't frightening. It was peaceful, dreamlike, like the sound of people humming in another room. And when I closed my eyes, I could see the signal, not as numbers or code, but as light. Soft waves drifting through the air, bending gently like silk underwater. They moved around me, through me, filling the station with a faint shimmer that faded when I tried to record it. I stopped sending my daily check-ins. Instead, I just sat in the dark, listening. The more I listened, the less lonely the silence felt. On the 13th night, the signal began transmitting outward. I didn't initiate it. The station's system simply woke up and began broadcasting all channels, all frequencies, a soft hum followed by breathing. I tried to cut the power, but the switches were unresponsive. Even the fail-safes ignored me. It was as though the station had decided to keep speaking, whether I wanted it to or not. When I looked out the viewport, I saw the stars shimmering differently. Each flicker aligned, pulsing in gentle waves. The rhythm was identical to the dream signal's pulse, and then the stars began to respond. One by one, faint flashes echoed back from the void, distant, deliberate, almost conversational. From here, audio stopped. The universe was answering. I don't remember falling asleep that night, but I must have, because I dreamed I was floating above the station, watching it drift among a web of faint blue lines stretching across the cosmos. Each line pulsed softly, signals traveling between the stars like veins of light, and in the center of it all, I saw them, shapes made of energy, or maybe memory. Not gods, not aliens. Something older. The architects of the hum itself, the first dreamers of the dark. They didn't speak in words. They played me, like I was another instrument in their song. I felt my thoughts turning into signals, my heartbeat syncing with the rhythm. It was beautiful, terrifying, and peaceful. When I woke, the console displayed a single message on every monitor. Signal complete, dream uploaded. The station was silent again. No hum, no whisper. Just the distant pulse of that single star beyond the viewport, flickering like a heartbeat. That was 64 days ago. Since then, I haven't received a single transmission from Earth or any fleet relay. Erebus 9 drifts quietly, broadcasting something I can no longer hear. But sometimes when I sleep, I dream of that web of light again, stretching endlessly, each thread humming softly like breath. And I see others there now, shapes of people drifting within the current, their faces calm, eyes closed, lips moving as if still whispering their own stories. Maybe they were other operators. Maybe they were dreamers, like me. I can't tell anymore which signals come from outside and which come from within. Last night, I recorded myself sleeping again. When I played the file back, I didn't hear breathing. I heard static, gentle, rhythmic, and behind it, my voice. Calm, quiet. The dream is awake now, it's listening. So I'll keep listening too. I'll let the hum carry me wherever it wants to go. Maybe when the stars whisper again, someone out there will hear me. Whisper back, end transmission. The stars are always awake, even when we are not. They drift in silence, timeless and patient, carrying the dreams of those who wander too close. Sometimes, if you listen carefully, you can hear them whisper, not just across the void, but inside your mind, soft as a lullaby. Somewhere out there, others like you are drifting, dreaming of light that is older than time itself and the stars. They remember. They remember every heartbeat, every whispered thought, every restless soul who dared to sleep beneath their glow. Tonight, as you close your eyes, know that you are not alone. Somewhere, a light pulses in rhythm with your own, gentle and calm, waiting to carry you into the quiet. Let it hum. Let it breathe. And if the dream comes to you, listen, because the stars are always listening.